From the Last Great Coliseum, the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series is ready to turn 300 laps for 150 miles in Thunder Valley at Bristol Motor Speedway. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Independence Racing Network. We're in the final week of the regular season, and Mike Wright has been dominant all year long. Wright extended his win total yet again last week to the tune of a dirty dozen. Now, after that, we get to see this week who might take home another checkered flag and perhaps get themselves into the playoffs. That will make our playoff picture in clear focus here for 2022. I'm Dave Riegel, and I'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, on the Independence Racing Network, proudly presented by Northeastern Fire and Air. And ladies and gentlemen, glad to have you in with us tonight as qualifying has gotten underway here at Bristol in the MNN Xfinity Series. Chad Sanner in the number 59 Black Rifle Coffee Company Chevrolet Camaro out here getting underway on his first lap. Maybe trying to warm those tires up as he is on the high side here. And we see him here on his second lap now getting wound up. That first lap was actually scrubbed. So we're going to see he may have bitten some wall on the first lap. Bobby Blazer also qualifying right now, as well as Zachary Vaughn in the number 91. That time gets Sanner up to P13, but this early on in qualifying, especially on a night where we have this few number of drivers, where we've got just about 22, it looks, we're not going to see too much excitement early on, especially when you've got 300 laps to get through. I mean, last night in the Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series, it was, for lack of a better term, a bloodbath. There were 13 cautions. Drivers were, frustrated, and the tempers were flaring. But, you expect that at a place like Bristol. For lack of a better term, it's Bristol, baby. One of the most historic tracks on the NASCAR circuit in the first place. And then you add in, playoff contentions, so on and so forth, playoff contenders, so on and so forth. And speaking of playoff contenders, Joseph Lester here in the cockpit getting ready to take his first lap. As soon as he fires the engine, we'll see him take off. Matt Mack and John Bawalda, Eugenio Alonso, Alexander Gangler, Jackson Derby, John Crow Sr., those drivers have not gotten in their cars yet. Zach Osborne out on lap number 2. Looks like he may have had an issue on that first lap, so now he's out here finishing the second lap, and maybe against some better advice here. Matthew Helm placing P10 in the number 25 Adrenaline Toyota Camry. Of course, the 25, the 32, we're going to see them running together a lot tonight, as, of course, they're probably running the same setup. Zachary Vaughn now finishing his qualifying effort, sits in the top 5. Mike Wright, your points leader and last week's winner, finished in P4, and we're going to talk to Mike Wright just a moment here. Mike Wright, Dave Riegel up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
Happy Dave. Happy Monday.
Hey, man, happy Monday. It's always a pleasure when you and I get to talk to one another, and it seems like this is just, a weekly thing now at this point. The Greensboro, North Carolina native here with us. And, Mike, listen, last week you ran a great race. You've had a great season so far, 12 wins on the year. We talked, before qualifying. How's that car feeling tonight, and what's your strategy going to be tonight moving in?
Survive is the goal. So the track's going to be cooler. It's nighttime race, so it should have some decent grip. Multiple lanes. There's going to be people moving all over the place. So just trying to stay out of trouble. Um, the tires probably won't come into play too much unless we get some random longer runs. I don't know how much we're going to see of that. I'd like to see it because then we can get a nice rhythm and click off some laps and have some fun. But my history at Bristol and some official races has said that long runs are a thing of a different track. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't have too many of those cautions and you get some cars at the end that can run pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those setups tonight, they're going to be built for short run for sure. And I mean, last night, I think the longest run there was just about 60 green flag laps. So tonight here in the Xfinity Series, which we are used to seeing, much longer green flag runs, as the Xfinity Series, for lack of a better term, is definitely one of the more talented series on the iRacing.com servers, where everybody's working very hard to keep these things green. And a lot of times, as I look over my stat sheet, the only cautions that we see in some of our races happen just at the end of stage breaks.
Right. And I think you can kind of see some of that in real life too as you get towards a endpoint that exists, whether it's the stage or the end of the race. People obviously are racing a little bit harder and getting a little closer together. So it does seem like for a lot of times, especially in the league here, we can get over the first start of the race and kind of settle in, and everybody's just kind of running their race, and you kind of learn who's got a car for what part of the race and part of the run. So we saw that last week. Everybody settled in, knew where their car was the best. So hopefully we can replicate a little bit of that tonight. And green flag racing is always much better than pacing. So whether you're doing it or you're watching it.
Fair enough, man. All right. Well, listen, you go ahead and make sure that you get those final adjustments made before the race. And I'm sure that we will be talking yet again at some point, whether it's a caution or that green and white checkered flag, or, of course, there in victory lane, my brother. So good luck and have fun tonight.
You got it, Dave. Have a good one.
That was Mike Wright, our points leader. He has been dominant all season long. And I got to be honest with you, there aren't too many other drivers out here in the iRacing.com servers who have the ability to be consistently good like Mike Wright does. I mean, Mike, he's new to the MNN series this year. Does not run in the Cup series. He does run in our truck series on Tuesday nights over there on Performance Motor Network. But, here's the thing. Mike has come in and made a statement. He wasn't going to be the new guy and hung back. He was the new guy and, came in to say, I'm here to race. And we're watching Eugenio Alonso on now his second lap and shot right to P2. And it looks like Eugenio is just going to hang it up right here, as that first lap was enough for him. That'll put him on the outside of row number one. So right now, the only drivers yet to qualify are John Bawalda in the number 51 trackbookings.com Chevrolet Camaro, Alexander Gangler in his Toyota Supra, as well as Jackson Derby, John Crow Sr., and Matt Mackin. So 23 cars going to take the green flag tonight. You are watching Monday Night NASCAR's Xfinity Series on the Independence Racing Network, the exclusive broadcast provider of MNN Xfinity Series action here. We are proudly presented by Northeastern Fire and Air, and the MNN Xfinity Series is brought to you by RS Button Boxes and Butt Kicker. And, of course, Butt Kicker, a major sponsor here in the series, as since the beginning of the season, we've been telling you about the prizes, and, just about everybody who places in that top four of the playoffs this year going to be earning themselves a butt kicker. And, a lot of these drivers in this series, they're out here working for those prizes. And you have to remember that, these drivers, this is a free league. People had the opportunity to come into the league at any time this year free of charge. And, the prizes are there to earn. And, to me, the butt kicker is almost absolutely necessary on iRacing. So hopefully these drivers can capture that flag and that prize. But let's take a look now at our qualifying results as drivers getting ready to come in and hop in the cars, fire the engines. A new pole sitter tonight in Justin Prater, driving the number 17, going to be sitting on the inside of row number one as we're waiting for him to hop in the old machine there. There he is in the number 17 Exalta Chevrolet Camaro. He has Eugenio Alonso in another Chevrolet on the outside of row number one. Bennett Allen driving the number 3 Alabama Department of Mental Health Toyota Supra on the inside of row number 2, with Bobby Blazer, who we're waiting for yet, on the outside of row number 2. And we'll wait for just one moment here to get Bobby in the car. And maybe Bobby's not going to hop in the car. Maybe he's going to consider starting from pit road. Mike Wright, your points leader in the number 98. Mike Wright, your points leader in the number 98 Ford Mustang. You'll have to forgive me for that momentary hiccup. Not having Bobby Blazer in line kind of messed up my flow a little bit here. On the outside of row number 3, going to be Zachary Vaughn in the number 91 Chevrolet Camaro. Bob Nestor, your Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series commissioner, the pride of Lansdale, Pennsylvania, in the number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Super, going to be on the inside of row number 4. Now we see Bobby Blazer in his number 90 B-Blaze Vintage Ford Mustang here on the outside of row number 2. We'll go back here to row number 4, where Ethan Flanagan is lined up in the number 46 Fanatec Chevrolet Camaro. Brandon Minto in the number 12 alongside Michael Astuto in row number 5. And we see Astuto coming up here in the number 39 Cookout Ford Mustang. Brad Gunn and Matthew Helm making up row number 6. Row number 7, the GOAT of all that is motocross and supercross, Ricky Carmichael in the 04 Monster Chevrolet Camaro, with Chris Claude on the outside of row number 7 here in the number 10 Dasani Toyota. He is your Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series commissioner. Row number 8 made up of Ian Humphreys and Chad Sanner. Row number 9 with Zach Osborne and Jeff Carson in the number 9 Mobile One Toyota Camry. Joseph Lester, a contender last night in the Cup Series, in the number 18 Toyota, with John Crow Sr. on the outside of row number 10. John Bawalda and Matt Mackin make up row number 11, as Alexander Gangler going to be starting shotgun on the field here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And folks, it has been an absolute pleasure tonight. Right now we can see that iRacing.com pace car light, those headlights are off. That means that we are getting ready to go green flag racing. We're going to see the iRacing.com pace car come around one more time here on the front stretch. We can see this field parading down the front stretch as we see John Bawalda getting a little bit of debris off of those tires. We see Eugenio Alonso and Justin Prater here on the front row. Prater's first time on the front row, if I remember correctly. Great to see that number 17 Exalta Chevrolet here atop the pile. I'll tell you what, drivers, viewers, sorry, see, I'm that excited. I'm excited. I know the drivers are excited. I hope you folks there at home are excited, because right now the iRacing.com pace car lights are out. That means that we're going to see him make a hard turn down pit road. The man in the stand has the green flag in his hand. Grab some popcorn, call your friends, settle in. We're green flag racing at the Last Great Coliseum. Prater and Alonso going at it early here as Alonso brushes Prater down. Oh, my goodness. On the backstretch as they dive into turn 3. This track moves pretty quick as we have now completed the first lap, and Eugenio Alonso, your race leader, it looks like he wants to be the Pied Piper of Bristol, Tennessee, as he has now opened himself up a 0.4 of a second lead over Prater. Looking back further in the field as we bring up our timing tower, because we're going to need it tonight, folks. We see Bennett Allen running in P3 right now. Everybody trying to get themselves settled in here, try to find themselves a nice groove to be in, because I'll tell you what, we've got a long race ahead of us. I mean, you know, you can't get yourself too upset too early, especially as things are going to be moving faster and faster. Green flag racing here on 4 of lap 300. Mike Wright working the rear of Bobby Blazer here in between he and Ethan Flanagan. Flanagan in his rookie season in the MNN Xfinity Series being chased down by Bob Nestor. Bob, one of those drivers that can hang back here and just kind of wait and see if somebody makes a mistake. And I'm betting dollars to donuts that one of the drivers we aren't going to see make a mistake tonight is going to be Mike Wright. Ethan Flanagan steps out of line just a little and kind of drifts high. It's almost like that car is running a little tight, and it's opening the door for Nestor to get closer and closer. I have to say, one of these times we're going to see Ethan get himself just tight enough that Nestor's going to dive in there. as it looks like Mike Wright going to be passing Bobby Blazer now for P5, gets into the top 5 on the high side, and it looks like he's going to lead Ethan Flanagan around Bobby Blazer as they dive into the turn, and he brings Flanagan along now. Nestor getting around Blazer with relative ease here in the relative properties Toyota Supra, as he is now crossing the backstretch with his sights set to Ethan Flanagan, and Zachary Vaughn also backing up. Not sure if they're in tire save mode or what, but it's definitely a little early to be driving in that direction, and that would be the backwards direction if you're Zachary Vaughn. Lap 11 of 300. We're working our way toward lap number 85 as the first stage tonight. Now keep in mind that we run 100% length races here in the MNN Xfinity Series. Basically what that means is whatever they ran in real life, that's what we're running tonight on a Monday. So that means that we will have a stage break at lap number 85 and 170, and then basically 130 laps all the way to the end. After 170, we see Justin Prater, your pole sitter. He's down 2 positions right now, running in third. Kind of comfortable out there with about 3/4 of a second to Bennett Allen in front of him, and a 1.5 seconds back to Mike Wright. This is probably the furthest I've seen Mike Wright behind somebody all season long. Getting a little tighter back here is Brandon Minto in the number 12 Upside Ford Mustang. He's chasing down Bobby Blazer, and Bobby Blazer extending his lead over him on the backstretch, but Minto able to get the run on him in turns 3 and 4. He hangs on the high side. This track basically has 3 grooves if you really look at it. It's got the high groove that'll keep you out of harm's way for the most part. Then there's this middle groove where drivers are able to get one heck of a run on the turn exits, as we see Minto do getting around Blazer. Minto gets himself a little tight, but he's going to bring it back down off of turn 2 onto the backstretch and get ready to put Zach Vaughn in his sights, as now he's going to get ready to work over Bob Nestor. Now Zachary Vaughn trying to work over Bob Nestor, as it looks like Vaughn not ready to be put to bed early. So the kid says, I'm staying right here. You're not going to have to look in your rearview mirror and see me for very long, as it looks like he's trying to get around Nestor pretty early on here on lap number 18 of 300. Matthew Helm now on the inside here in the number 25, being chased down by Ricky Carmichael. Carmichael up 2 spots so far. He leads Brad Gunn, his teammate here, as we are under caution. We'll have to see exactly what brought that out. And we are under caution now. We can see just here. We're going to pull this up for you, folks, once we get it queued here properly. And basically right here, we're going to see the 16 car. That's Zach Osborne working the low side of Chris Claude, and he just drifts up a little high and comes across Claude's nose. Chris Claude holds his line and gets himself maybe a little rub up there, but nothing serious. We're going to take another look at this from a different angle, because that's a pretty unique angle there. And once again, we see the 16 just drift up too high into the 10 and puts himself into the wall. So realistically, I guess if you're the 10, you're thinking it's definitely not my fault. That's for darn sure. And we see the 16 maybe a little crumpled up here as he crosses the start-finish line. That's definitely not how you want to start your night, especially when you've run 22 clean laps. Now we're going to get a chance to see whether or not anybody decides to come down pit road, as there are 4 sets of changes for tires tonight, 5 total sets. That's a lot more. That's a lot different compared to last night's 6 changes, 7 total sets in the Cup Series after 250 laps. So drivers definitely going to have to be a lot more conservative with that tire wear, unlike last night in the Cup Series. Chris Claude opting to come down pit road, maybe to check damage, as it does look like his Toyota Supra may have a little bit of damage here. We'll take a look from the chopper, and we see there just a little crinkling up here as the chopper's going to hover above us, but we can see just a little bit of damage here on the rear. Shouldn't make too much of a difference in these Xfinity cars. So Chris Claude away as he wants to get out before the iRacing.com pace car brings the field around. We can see that pace car diving down pit road. That means that we're going to wave the green flag and be back underway. Green flag racing at Bristol. Eugenio Alonso, still your race leader. He's being chased down by Bennett Allen, but just back here we see Bob Nestor side by side with the 46 of Ethan Flanagan. Getting a little dicey here on the front stretch as Nestor holding the high side, maybe fighting a little loose condition right now, but we should start to see that car tighten up some as we get deeper into the run. Just 26 of 300 laps complete tonight. And we can see side by side Bobby Blazer alongside Brandon Minto yet again. They're going to go at it hammer and tongs here early on in the race. 27 of 300 laps complete. Everybody basically holding their own. We get to see back here Ricky Carmichael working the inside now of the 25 of Matthew Helm. We're going to switch over here to our drone cam as we see them side by side coming down the back stretch. Carmichael not willing to give up the low side, but unfortunately it's probably taking away a little bit of his momentum in order to swing back up there to the wall. We see just in front of them the 39 Cookout Ford Mustang chasing down Bobby Blazer, but enough distance right now that that's not too hot and heavy of a battle. So all things considered, everybody in this league, and we can see that time and time again as Joseph Lester working the inside of Ian Humphreys. Time and time again we talk about this in this league, that drivers are more conservative in this league as far as tire consumption. You know, we have to watch that because we have fewer sets of tires. And furthermore, you will not see as many cautions as you do in some leagues, as we've got 2 side-by-side battles going on right now. Joseph Lester on the outside now of Ian Humphreys. I'm sorry, that would be the 36 of Brad Gunn. And then just ahead of them, Ricky Carmichael working the inside yet again of Matthew Helm. Maybe Carmichael trying to swing out and get that run that he needs to pass Helm, as it looks like he does have the faster car, and Helm just able to hold him off like a dam holds in a lake. And it looks like, yes, Carmichael finally gets around, secures the spot, but I'm afraid that he may have cooked a lot of those tires off battling the 25. So maybe he's counting on another pit or another caution here, and maybe he can come down pit road and get some service on that monster Chevrolet Camaro. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Brandon Minto up here still trying to hold off Bobby Blazer in the number 90. Blazer here chasing Minto down, but there's 0.3 of a second separating them. And all that going on while Eugenio Alonso has opened himself up a 1.12 second lead here at Bristol. I got to be honest with you, folks, that's an impressive lead to have this early on in the race. The Buenos Aires native up here leading laps as he should, because I'll tell you what, Eugenio Alonso week after week has put the work in and really tried to prove himself. And if you're going to bring home that checkered flag, you make sure that you bring it home at a historical place like Bristol Motor Speedway, and Eugenio Alonso definitely getting that under control. Meanwhile, just behind him, more action going on with Justin Prater and Bennett Allen now in the 3 car, as John Crow Sr. getting ready to take over that 15. that 15th position from Brad Gunn, as Brad Gunn has gotten himself into some traffic. Meanwhile, the 95 of John Crow Sr. hanging out, basically trying to wait for somebody to take one too many chances and make that mistake. Now it looks like he's going to get around the 25 of Matthew Helm with relative ease, as now Brad Gunn is on the bumper of Joseph Lester. Lester last night was all over Alex Murray, and Alex Murray was all over Joseph Lester. It ended with fireworks and all kinds of other nightmares in the SNN Cup Series, but Lester out here tonight hanging back, playing it easy so far on lap number 41 of 300, just about halfway through this first stage. Right now, tempers pretty much under control. We're not seeing too many people get frustrated with one another, as you know, they understand in this league. Whoa! Lester gets loose coming out of turn 4, crossing the start-finish line, but quickly hauls it back in and gets that machine back under control, as he is now going to work the rear of Zach Osborne here in the 16. And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be Osborne with Lester all over my rear bumper, because that's a driver there who, I'll tell you what, Joseph Lester is a talented young man, but patient he is not. So if that heat gets turned up too much further on the 18, that 18 Toyota Supra is suddenly going to be a Caterpillar front-end loader, and he's going to push him right out of the way. You watch later on here in this race. Eugenio Alonso getting ready to start lapping the field and making it look easy, as he has Alexander Gangler in that corn Toyota Supra. It's corn. It's a big lump with knobs. It's got the juice, but he doesn't have the juice to hold off Eugenio Alonso, as he now becomes the first car one lap down. The first car one lap down, and now Eugenio is putting Jeff Carson in the crosshairs, as he would be next in line to be picked off. And now it looks like it's either going to be Carson or Zach Osborne in the 16, as the 16 drops down to pit road for reasons I'm not quite sure of. That puts Carson in danger, as Chris Claude already a couple of laps down. Maybe Claude going to try to block for his teammate and hold Eugenio Alonso at bay as long as he can and slow the progress, hoping for that all-important caution to come reset the field. That could bring Carson back around. Carson finishing on the podium last week. I was excited to be able to talk to him, post-race, and finally get a chance to interview him, because, Jeff Carson, one of those drivers that he puts the time in, and he deserved every bit of that podium last week. And it seems like Michael Astuto has crashed all kinds of mess, and we are under caution here at Bristol Motor Speedway. And we see Astuto working the inside of Bob Nestor. Nestor on the high side. And the first thing that we're going to see here is Nestor diving underneath Ricky Carmichael in hot pursuit. And Astuto just gets loose and collects Nestor. Astuto rubs that wall coming out of turn 4 and just collects Nestor. That has to be frustrating. Oh, my! And the 95 just annihilates the 39. We're going to take one more look at that. My God. That was a disaster and a half. I don't know what the 95 was looking at here. In fact, you know what? Usually I wouldn't question someone's judgment or vision. I have an astigmatism, but my God. Let's just see exactly what happened. As we see the 95 rolling down across the start-finish line, he knows there's a wreck and just plows into the 39. So I don't know if he maybe owed him lunch money, or, maybe Jody was at home while he was at work. I don't know, but that was definitely something kind of ugly. We're going to look at it one more time from behind, as the 95 just totally wrecks the 39. And I want to look one more time here, maybe from a zoomed in kind of view, whether or not he even knew what the brake pedal looked like, as nope, he just totally drove in there. Wheels a spinning, RPMs a flying. My goodness. I hate to keep going back, but I think that was worse than the initial wreck that brought this caution out. We're going to look from our helmet cam that we just happen to have on John Crow Sr.'s helmet. And it looks like he slowed down, but never touched the brake, or maybe his brakes weren't set heavy enough. Not real sure, but that was definitely an ugly look there. Well, that'll change things for sure, as Eugenio Alonso sits here on the inside of row number 1. Bennett Allen on the outside, Mike Wright, Ethan Flanagan, Bobby Blazer, Brandon Minto, Ricky Carmichael, Zachary Vaughn, Brad Gunn, and Jeff Carson rounding out your top 10. Carson was just in danger of, going a lap down, manages to get himself now into the top 10, up 8 positions from where he had started. We see Bob Nestor there in the 29 coming around, so definitely an eventful caution. The iRacing.com pace car hits pit road, and Eugenio Alonso hits the loud pedal and takes off to continue his campaign here at Bristol Motor Speedway on lap number 54. Lap number 55 being led by Alonso, as Bennett Allen coming in to start maybe trying to look for some ground here, trying to get the run on Alonso. Basically, your entire top 8. And it was just the top 9 until Justin Prater took the position from Brad Gunn. Your top 8 have not come in yet for pit service. So these 3 drivers here, the 3, the 98, and the 46 of Allen, Wright, and Flanagan, they have not come in for pit service, and they're still out here running 15.26 second laps, as you're going to start to see maybe moving a little later here in the race. We're going to start to see these lap times. You can check them out on the scoring tower, maybe fall off a little bit. Meanwhile, you're going to see more and more people, as Eugenio's out here logging laps, go down laps, as now it looks like the 46 rubs the wall just a little, opens the door for the 90 maybe to get underneath. Meanwhile, the 98 and the 3 doing battle, the 98 trying to make the 46 as uncomfortable as possible, and he just decides to leave the 46 up there and do battle all by his lonesome with Bennett Allen, as he is marching further and further down the field toward Eugenio Alonso. Leo, I'm glad that you're entertained by the It's Corn reference of Alexander Gangler. Sorry I didn't look at it sooner, but things get a little busy here in the broadcast booth when you're working solo like me. Meanwhile, the 46 back here being pushed further and further back the field. He's currently running in 6th position, started up pretty high here on the restart, starting to lose ground now on Bobby Blazer, so maybe Flanagan should have gotten those all-important tires. Meanwhile, Justin Prater is up here just making it look easy, as he's out here on what I assume to be fresh tires, as Prater was in there for about 15 seconds, so that definitely indicates he was down on pit road for tires. Definitely not 2 cans of Sunoco race fuel, but he's looking at trying to track down Mike Wright, and I have to be honest, this early, and we are under caution yet again here on lap number 64, as it looks like Ian Humphreys and now Bob Nestor also involved. We'll take a look. And hopefully this wasn't bad for Nestor. We'll have to take maybe a closer look. Let's see this together, folks, as, the 32 of Ian Humphreys rubs the wall coming out of 4, collects Nestor, and Nestor just wrong place, wrong time again, but he only nuzzles the wall this time. So hopefully Nestor can get back to going in a positive direction. As we move through the race, we're going to see just who might be available here. We're going to call on our points leader, Mike Wright. Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Copy, Dave.
So it's been kind of an interesting race so far. I mean, right now you've got Prater behind you in the 17. He's out there on fresh tires. What are you thinking pit strategy-wise as you've only got 5 sets to work with tonight?
Yeah, I was surprised, I guess, that he took it. Nobody else did. It was good testing for us to kind of see what new tires will show up as. They are faster. It just depends on after you put them on, what are the green flag runs and things like that. So I would say he's probably going to drive to the front here. I guess it'll be like 16 to go, 17 to go, somewhere in that range. So it's a nice fact-finding mission there. I just didn't want to put myself back in the soup too early in the race.
Well, you know what? It's better that somebody else finds out than you do. That way you don't burn a set needlessly, and that way, you know, maybe he's burning one a little too early that he might need toward the end of the race.
Yeah, you never know. We've been trying to talk a little bit all night, trying to figure out what's our cutoff point for pitting, knowing that there's probably going to be more cautions towards the end of the race, trying to figure out, is it 50 to go, 75 to go? I don't know if we have an answer yet for sure, but that'll be something to watch. Is just when is that point where people decide, you know what, I got 2 sets, but I'm not coming down because of the track position.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, listen, good luck here. You're sitting here on our podium at the moment, but it's way too early to even say that word. So you go ahead and good luck chasing down Eugenio here as we're marching through stage number 1, brother.
Yep, just trying to buy time, keep the car clean.
That was, of course, the voice of Mike Wright, driver of the number 98 Ford Mustang. And I'll tell you what, Mike Wright, one of those drivers that we see, you know, week in and week out. Again, he's kind of a mad scientist when it comes to building setups. We see the iRacing.com pace cars, lights turn out, the field go double file back through, and we're going to see where everybody lines up. Eugenio Alonso and Mike Wright going to be on row number 1. Row number 2 going to be made up of Justin Prater and Bobby Blazer. So that top 4, they've got a lot of work to do holding off this angry pack of Hornets. As the iRacing.com pace car flinches and dives all the way down there onto pit road, Eugenio Alonso with his finger on the button. He hits the restart zone. The loud pedal goes, and we're green flag racing at Bristol Motor Speedway. Mike Wright and Justin Prater side by side. We just got done talking to Mike, and I think he's probably going to let Prater drive by here and burn the rest of those tires off, as Wright has been able to save his tires. And here he is doing battle, just keeping it, you know, pace for pace with Prater early on in this green flag run. He almost decides to take that left quarter panel away from Prater, and maybe that loosens him up just a little coming out of turn 4. That could be dangerous for Prater, as now it looks like Wright has exposed a weakness coming out of 4. We look through the rest of the field. Joseph Lester now trying to do battle with the 91 and the 82, and it looks like he's going to work the 91 first this way. Meanwhile, Jeff Carson running in 14th. He had restarted 10th on the last restart, now restarting in 14th. Came down for pit service on lap number 21 and is out there on slightly fresher tires than Lester. But Joseph Lester works his way past the 91 of Zachary Vaughn, and now Alexander Gangler trying to work his way past Zach Vaughn, as the 91 machine is just being held up there and out of the way, and Gangler looking to get even with Joseph Lester. I'm afraid that he may not have enough for that young man, as I'm, of course, proven wrong every time, and we are under caution. And we see the 51 of John Bawalda getting loose coming out of 4 yet again. He comes down into the 01 of Matt Mackin. And boom goes the dynamite here. We're going to try to get a hold of Commissioner Bob Nestor on the microphone. Bob Nestor, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I copy, Dave.
So it seems like you've had kind of a rough night here as we've moved around, and I gotta be honest with you. It looks like you were just in the wrong place, wrong time, both times.
Yeah, the guys slid into the outside wall and it bounced off and came down. It's not really, anything anybody can do about it. But I didn't get that much damage. Got about a minute and a half, but put me 3 laps down. So.
Well, 3 laps down from where you're sitting now, you probably, as long as you keep it clean, at least for a little while, we should have enough cautions that maybe you'll start to get those laps back. But for now, it looks like you've got Chris Claude behind you, John Bawalda in front of you. It's like it's kind of like the commissioner's hour right there as you step out of line to go down pit road.
Yeah, I got to get the rest of this damage fixed.
All right, my man. Well, listen, good luck out there and get that Relative Properties Toyota Supra fixed up and into victory lane.
All right, man. Thank you.
That was Bob Nestor, driver of the number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Supra. Still looking for that first win, but you know what? The commissioner here, he does a lot of work in the background all season long, and you can't help but hope for the guy to win. Especially with as much work as he puts in on this league. Meanwhile, looks like the 0-1 of Matt Mackin going to be getting his lap back. That'll be a welcome sign as he's sitting ahead of your race leader. We're going to see if we can get a hold of John Bawalda. John Bawalda, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, brother. How you doing?
Hey, man, listen, always great to hear your voice. I miss you. It looks like you kind of had a little bit of a rough goings there after Mackin bit the wall. How's that car? How much damage do you have going on?
Just a couple minutes. We should be good. By the final stage, we should have it all sorted out and hopefully be able to be competitive again.
Well, man, listen, if you're anything, you're always consistent. So glad to see you out there. Make sure that you get that damage fixed and keep trying to bring that on home for trackbookings.com.
Yeah, we'll do it. Thank you.
All right, brother. I'm going to send you on back up there to Jack Dow Motorsports. Of course, John Bawalda, owner of Jack Dow Motorsports, the team here. And I'll tell you what, these guys, week after week, always just so great. The guys on that team, they're just good people. They're great people. And always kind of fun to hang out with, as John and I were able to go to Dover earlier together this season, along with Bob Nestor. But we're Green Flag Racing. We'll get back to that later, as Eugenio Alonso and Justin Prater now lead the field. Prater, of course, on those fresh tires, decides he's going to try to make as much distance up as he can, as we're on lap 80, working our way toward lap 85. Nathan Rita, welcome into the Independence Racing Network. If you are watching us live on YouTube.com, make sure that you subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and make sure that you turn on those bell notifications so that you can be alerted every Monday night and reminded when we're live here, as the Independence Racing Network is the exclusive broadcast provider of Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series racing. Right now, your race leader is Justin Prater, as he is out here on slightly fresher tires than just about everybody else in your top 10. And, Prater here now has opened up 0.4 of a second over Eugenio Alonso. Bobby Blazer running in third, Ethan Flanagan in fourth, and Brandon Minto rounding out the top 5 as we're on lap number 85. That means when Prater brings them around and we cross for lap 86, that will conclude stage 1 here, as it looks like Prater with relative ease going to bring it home. And we should be waiting for that stage 1 caution to come out here once the 10th place car crosses, and we are under caution, and that will conclude stage number 1. Justin Prater, Eugenio Alonso, Bobby Blazer, Ethan Flanagan, Brandon Minto, Mike Wright, Bennett Allen, Ricky Carmichael, Brad Gunn, and Joseph Lester make up your top 10 here at the end of stage number 1. So we are going to get a chance maybe to talk to Mr. Prater. And also at that same time, we are going to step aside and pay some bills here on the Independence Racing Network.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
In 2007, Ray Regal had a vision of serving his fellow firefighters' breathing air needs better. As a City of Reading firefighter since 1975, he knows the difficulties of finding the best and most affordable service company to care for and manage the most important means of survival firefighters have: breathing air. Northeastern Fire and Air is committed to providing our brothers and sisters with the best service in the industry and at an affordable cost. For more information, call 610-207-6608 for a consultation today, and know that you can breathe easy with Northeastern Fire and Air. Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. Stage 1 of the Bristol 300 here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series is complete, and Mr. Prater, as we're trying to find him up here, Justin Prater is your Stage 1 winner. Justin Prater, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, listen, congratulations on that Stage 1 win. How do you feel after that many laps here? And basically, I mean, you had the freshest tires. Now you're out here on some of the oldest tires.
I feel like the car was very good. It drove very good. I felt like I could be a little bit freer, though, as the run went on. I feel like, though, with the gap between the fresh tires and the old tires, that the fresh tires may actually end up burning up before they do get up here.
Yeah, absolutely. It just seems like maybe you took your tires at that perfect moment, and it paid off, obviously, for you. So congrats on that Stage 1 win. And, hey, listen, maybe we're going to talk at the end of Stage 2, or maybe, you know, God forbid, there in Victory Lane at the conclusion of Stage 3 in this race.
Thank you. That's my plan right there for both of them.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations, and we'll talk to you later. Welcome to the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Thank you.
That, of course, was Justin Prater. We're getting ready to go back green flag racing, and we do, as Stage 2 is now underway. Sorry about that. Look away from the screen for 2 seconds, and all of a sudden we are back underway. Justin Prater, whoa, we've got a wreck just behind them. Everybody dodging out of the way. And it looks like Joseph Lester has found some real estate here on the inside wall. We're going to check it out and see exactly what might have happened to the young man. And we see Lester here in the 18. He comes down and just drives up into the side of the 98 almost, and the 98 gets plowed into by the 91. I would like to believe that that wasn't nasty or mean-spirited, shall we say. We're going to try to go to the chopper cam, as that usually sits behind the driver, or at least over top enough where we can see this from a better angle. We see Lester here in the 18 working the inside of the 98, and it either he had some kind of horrific hardware failure, or he just decided that it was the end of the day for the 98 and he had had enough of him. So let's hope that it was the first one there. We're going to take one more look here from the roll bar. And we're going to see him work the inside of the 98. And, yeah, that's pretty questionable, I got to be honest. And obviously they're going to talk about that in race chat after the fact. But let's see what happens. Stand by, folks. As that's not going to change too much with your standings. Justin Prater still your race leader with Bennett Allen in P2. Eugenio Alonso in third. Bobby Blazer in fourth. Ethan Flanagan in fifth. Mike Wright in sixth. Brandon Minto in seventh. Brad Gunn in eighth. Zachary Vaughn in ninth. And Jeff Carson rounds out the top 10. And hopefully he doesn't mind that we do this, but we are going to bring in the GOAT of all that is Supercross and Motocross, Mr. Ricky Carmichael. Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
I do, Dave. What's up?
Hey, man, listen, another great night for racing here at the Last Great Coliseum. What are you seeing so far in that 04 Monster Chevrolet Camaro?
Well, the boys got it tuned up good tonight. It's really good on the long run. And, man, I need to get a little bit better on pit road, just my speed, and I didn't pull up far enough, so I lost some valuable time there. I was running good. We have a great car for the long run, and quite honestly, I just like to get through these first 5, 6, 7 laps on restarts and then start racing.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? You got through stage one pretty clean. I mean, look at you. You're probably one of the few drivers out there without, bumps and bruises all over your car. I mean, what just happened there with the 18 was pretty sticky, but you've got yourself up into 11th right now.
I do. Yeah, man, I'm happy. I'm ready to go and try to get another top 10, man. Get up to the front of the pack as quick as possible.
All right, man. Thanks for the time. Good luck out there as we're getting ready to go back green.
You bet.
That was Ricky Carmichael. Of course, we're always glad when we can borrow folks, and of course, Ricky Carmichael, one of the few people that can say that they have real life experience in these Xfinity Series cars. So, one of those times in life where it's humbling to know that there's a driver like Ricky Carmichael out here doing the same thing that we do every Monday night. So, an honor to have him with us. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Justin Prater trying to hold off the 86 and the 3 of Alonso and Allen. A couple of A's back there cutting it up, as now it looks like Alonso going to take away P2 from Allen pretty securely now with Bobby Blazer in hot pursuit. Those 4 cars now going to battle it out for the lead, as Eugenio Alonso trying to make this a 2-car battle for the lead. Here, as we are now 1/3 of the race complete on lap 100, working our way now toward lap number 170. Austin, I do see you calling for the far chase cam. Got to be honest, I hate that view, so you can check that out on your own replay. But here on the Independence Racing Network, we don't use that because it's not something we like here. Meanwhile, looks like Bennett Allen now getting a little bit of distance between himself and Justin Prater. So maybe those tires for Prater still holding himself pretty tight to Alonso, but Alonso on that fresh rubber taking off now on lap 101. Ethan Flanagan and Mike Wright back here side by side is Brandon Minto with Mike Wright as they come out of turn 4. They go back single file with Ricky Carmichael now up in 8th position as he had restarted in 11th, now running in 8th, as it looks like Wright and Flanagan going to be side by side. And we see them crossing. This is almost the same camera view that we saw Ricky Rudd and Kurt Busch go at it years ago here at Bristol. And we see Mike Wright getting ready to go at it here with the 46. Mike Wright, of course, just involved with that incident with Joseph Lester. As he is still side by side with the 46. Looks like he's going to maybe clear him this time around if he can keep that car wound up at the start-finish line. The 46 gets the run, does Ethan Flanagan, as he is in his rookie season, as well as Mike Wright in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. Brought to you live here on the Independence Racing Network by Butt Kicker, RS Button Boxes, and proudly presented by Northeastern Fire and Air. Brandon Minto looking to do battle with Mike Wright, as it seems like no matter where Mike is, whether he's the leader of a race or deeper back here in the pack as he is tonight, it seems like we just can't get away from him on our broadcasts. Meanwhile, Eugenio Alonso has opened up a 4/10 of a second lead over Justin Prater, and we can see just how important those new tires are as we take a look here at his last lap time, running a 15.62, 6/100th of a second faster than Prater. Here on the left side of your screen is Prater now getting ready to go side by side with Bobby Blazer. Blazer, of course, an MNN Xfinity Series regular here on the last night of the regular season as we're getting ready to go toward the playoffs next week, and we'll have that picture for you next Monday night once everything comes into focus. Meanwhile, the three making easy work of the 17. Bobby maybe getting a little loose here, manages to keep it steady as now he brings Bennett Allen along with him. Meanwhile, Justin has now slid back into fourth position, down 3 from where he had started up there on the pole. Maybe Justin thinking it's about soon time for new tires, as basically he hasn't been down since lap number 51, and we're currently on lap number 114 here at Bristol Motor Speedway, the Last Great Coliseum. And you know, folks, this is one of those tracks that you just can never get enough of. You know, we've seen so much history happen right here. We've seen so many great races end here. We've seen, you know, so many great drivers here. It's an all-around exciting place to be. You know, Bristol is kind of like the old Yankee Stadium of NASCAR, where, you know, this has gone under a lot of changes. This has gone under, you know, a redesign and reconfigure to some degree, and has now been built into this massive complex. And listen, after Sunday night's, or well, Saturday's race in the Cup Series, I mean, you find yourself breathless when you take a look at this particular facility. And we're even going to take a quick look here. I mean, these cars are out here doing battle week after, you know, night after night, you know, during a NASCAR event. And I mean, there is next to no room out here on the racetrack. There's really no place to go, as Justin Prater is working his way toward Eugenio, but Eugenio Alonso has come back up to lead this piece, and we're starting to see him getting ready to chase down Zachary Vaughn. Zachary Vaughn, the next car that's going to go down a lap once Alonso gets up to him, and they're only separated by a straightaway. Interesting little factoid here about Bristol Motor Speedway, if I may. If you are watching, hopefully you're watching the Independence Racing Network primarily, but if you happen to be looking out the corner of your eye over there at ABC, you can see that the Minnesota Vikings are currently visiting the Philadelphia Eagles. And what you would find interesting is that the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins in an NFL preseason game played right here at Bristol Motor Speedway, September 2nd, 1961. As Alonso puts Zachary Vaughn and John Bawalda down laps now. He's looking for Ian Humphreys next, as we see Bawalda and Vaughn now going to have to duke it out for that lucky dog position, as we are still green here on lap number 124 of 300, working our way toward lap number 170 in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series here live on YouTube.com on the Independence Racing Network. So anyway, the Philadelphia Eagles, September 2nd, 1961, had beaten the Washington Redskins 17-10 right here at the Last Great Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway, in front of a crowd of 8,500 people. So quite an interesting feat if you think about it, because here we are, that's a totally neutral site for both of those teams, as you know, of course, the Redskins play now in Landover, Maryland, and the Eagles play here in South Philadelphia. You know, so a very odd thing, but I'm curious about it, and basically it just seems like they wanted to host a preseason race. They made a deal with who I would assume back then. Actually, I don't think that would be Giamatti, but regardless, they would have obviously had to make a deal with the National Football League. 2 other football games have been played here. Also on September 10th, 2016, the Tennessee Volunteers beat the Virginia Tech Hokies 45-24 in a shellacking in front of 156,990 people. They called it the Battle at Bristol. Then, more recently, just a week later, the East Tennessee State Buccaneers played the Western Carolina Catamounts and beat them 34-31 in front of a crowd of 13,863. As we are under caution, Matthew Helm seems to be in trouble yet again. We're going to take a look. Here we are taking a trip down football history lane. And here we do see the 25 of Matthew Helm coming out just behind Bawalda. Bawalda gets down into the 25. They come together, and it just seems like a perfect storm as Ricky Carmichael gets a little bit into the 25. Of course, he really didn't have a place to go after the 51 bumped the wall. But, at Bristol, Rubbin's race and that kind of thing can happen. The interesting thing is, at a place like Bristol, when we see those sorts of things happen, for lack of a better term, you're not going fast enough to beat the bejesus out of your car. So maybe not a whole lot of damage to that car. Meanwhile, we're going to step aside, pay some bills, and take a breath here on the Independence Racing Network. In 2007, Ray Regal had a vision of serving his fellow firefighters' breathing air needs better. As a City of Reading firefighter since 1975, he knows the difficulties of finding the best and most affordable service company to care for and manage the most important means of survival firefighters have: breathing air. Northeastern Fire and Air is committed to providing our brothers and sisters with the best service in the industry and at an affordable cost. For more information, call 610-207-6608 for a consultation today, and know that you can breathe easy with Northeastern Fire and Air.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
I know belts and hoses, not X and O's. I do O2 sensors, but not defenses. Yeah, I make a right call to keep your car in the game. Don't even need a playbook, it's all in my brain. Fuel injectors, alternators, radiators too. It's who I am, it's what I do. Never know how. Never know how.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway on the Independence Racing Network. You're watching the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series here on YouTube.com. The iRacing.com pace car lights are out as we are back from yet another caution. The seventh one of the, well, technically the sixth one for reason tonight. Of course, the seventh one would have been considered for the end of stage number 1. which saw Justin Prater bring home the green and white checkered flag. Meanwhile, Eugenio Alonso looks at the back of the iRacing.com pace car as it goes down pit road. The man in the stand waves the green flag in his hand, and we are back underway at Bristol Motor Speedway. You know, one of the things to keep in mind, you know, as I do want to go back to talking about the Eagles and the Redskins, the now Washington Commanders, playing an NFL preseason game here at Bristol, they played that in 1961. Of course, that's also the first year that this facility was open. So obviously it's kind of like some of the other stadiums that we see now in today's time, like Jerry World down in Arlington, hosting multiple different events, you know, that you generally don't see in basically a racetrack. You know, they had football in the middle of a racetrack, where down there in Arlington they had, you know, basketball championships and things like that for the NCAA being played in the middle of a football field. So, you know, maybe some multi-purpose events here aren't a bad thing for marketing. Meanwhile, speaking of a bad thing, maybe a good thing for Justin Prater is it seems yet again that he has gotten tires here with just about 45 laps to go in stage number 2, as Prater now takes the lead away from Eugenio Alonso. And now these two drivers are going to be running away with over a 1 second lead over Bobby Blazer. Bobby Blazer here with 1.1 seconds to Eugenio Alonso, and Brandon Minto about half a second behind. So things starting to change little by little here, as Justin Prater has followed that same pit strategy and has now gotten himself into position yet again to bring home another green and white checkered flag for stage number 2. Meanwhile, we're taking a look here at Bennett Allen holding off Jeff Carson, as Carson getting ready to work the inside of Allen, holding off Ricky Carmichael behind him. I'll tell you what, Carson is fighting a battle on two different fronts here, fighting a war on two different fronts, as he is battling what looks to be Bennett Allen in front of him and Ricky Carmichael behind him. Carson is. And we see him right now side by side. It doesn't get much closer than that, as he's got some damage on the rear of that Mobil 1 Toyota Supra. But it looks like he is going to try to come out the victor of this battle between himself and Bennett Allen. Of course, Jeff Carson finishing on the podium last week wants to try to do that again this week, as he's running in 6th position, up 12 spots from where he had qualified at. Jeff last came down on lap 88, so that car's got to be starting to feel some kind of uncomfortable. As now Ricky Carmichael falls into line behind him. They're now single file all the way back through Brad Gunn. Ian Humphries is trailing Bennett Allen now by 5 seconds, which is just something unheard of, as Bennett Allen and Ian Humphries with that 5-second gap. Meanwhile, Humphries is trying to battle it out with Brad Gunn in the 36 machine. And Mike Wright, your points leader, came down on lap 132 and is now down a lap. And folks, I don't want to startle anybody, but I think this might be the first time all season that while out on track, Mike Wright is a lap down. You can see that here on the left side, as we have gone to the scoring tower for these last couple of races here in the regular season, as it gives you a little bit better of an idea of where the top 10 is, and it splits it out with the rest of the field, as Brad Gunn is sideways on the track and we are under caution. Oh, Brad Gunn almost made a mistake right there in front of Bobby Blazer. A little Code Brown moment for the Blaze man. And we're going to see Brad Gunn here in the 36, right in the middle of your screen. He gets right up close to Matt Mackin in the 01, and it looks like he just catches a little bit too much asphalt there on the apron. That upsets the stability of the car, and he just tried to haul it back in, and instead buys himself a piece of that inner safer barrier that divides the racing surface from the pit. Here at Bristol Motor Speedway, he does manage to get that car back underway. I got to tell you, though, I'm pretty sure that Bobby Blazer nearly needed a new seat after he just about would have soiled it. And folks, as we were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, did want to check in with them here on Monday Night Football. Your hosts, of course, in the Monday Night Football broadcast booth, one Joe Buck and Troy Kenneth Aikman, the pride of Henrietta, Oklahoma, in South Philadelphia. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles leading the Minnesota Vikings 24-7 as Monday Night Football in a weird doubleheader, as basically it looks like in one breath they're on ABC with the Eagles and the Vikings. And then the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills are over on ESPN. And just waiting for that to update here on my screen. We'll get you a score update. Hopefully you're paying attention to us and not paying attention to football tonight. But, you know, I mean, I could see why you'd want to hang out with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman instead of Dave Regal here in the Independence Racing Network's broadcast booth. As, my goodness, it looks like the Bills are shellacking the Tennessee Titans. Of course, the Tennessee Titans' favorite football team of one Chris Claude. And we're going to see if we can pull him up and maybe rib him a little bit. Chris Claude, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
I do.
Chris, do you want the spoiler alert for the football game or no?
I'm through halftime, so no, I don't want anything that happened in the second half, please.
Okay. Long story short, you're still a great NASCAR driver. You're still a great commissioner there for SNN. Maybe the Titans need some help from you. Just saying.
Okay. All right.
So the Fairview, Tennessee native here driving the number 10 Dasani Toyota. You're down a couple of laps, but you're still holding together here as you're in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I am. This tonight did not help me much, but I'm in the playoff hunt, so we'll see how it shakes out.
All right, man. Well, listen, I'm so tempted to spoil the game, but I don't want to, so I'm going to send you back to your Discord. Thanks for your time, and thanks for all the work that you do in the Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series, my man. As they are back green flag racing, we are back underway here at Bristol Motor Speedway on lap number 156 of 300. Working our way toward lap number 185 for stage number 2. Justin Prater, your race leader, leads Eugenio Alonso in the number 86 Chevrolet Camaro, being chased by Brandon Minto and now passed by Brandon Minto, as it looks like Alonso, Blazer, and Flanagan haven't been in since lap number 88 for tires. So Justin Prater and Brandon Minto definitely up here taking advantage of the fresh shoes at Bristol. And we are back under caution, as it looks like Matthew Helm has gotten himself into some kind of trouble yet again. And we'll take a look here. As it appears, Matthew Helm here, gets into Bob Nestor. So I guess we're going to have to go back to the Nestor clip and see what might have happened with good old Bob. As Bob's working the inside, just gets it loose and, takes a hit from the 25. It looks like the 25 kind of wrong place at the wrong time, didn't really have anywhere to go except to inside of Nestor's driver's side door. He's going to probably have to bring that down pit road for sure. Maybe get checked out by the Infield Care Center here at Bristol. So our 9th caution of the night, the 8th caution for cause, as Justin Prater and Brandon Minto just came in on lap number 132. So just 28 laps ago, they are trailed by Eugenio Alonso and Bobby Blazer a little deeper back here in the field. We're going to see if we can pull up Bobby Blazer and see maybe what he's thinking as far as as far as his pitch strategy. And Bobby Blazer not in Discord tonight. Go figure. As soon as I'm looking for him, I can't find him. And this just in from the infield care center. Seems like Bob Nestor not really having a good time with that number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Supra, as he's going to be down here for an extended period of time getting some repair done on pit road. Seems like that car may be having a little bit of problem. We'll see if we can get a hold of Bob, since we couldn't find Bobby Blazer. So we'll stop in here with Bob Nestor. Bob Nestor, seems like that car is having some trouble. What's going on with it, man?
Yeah, after those 2 accidents, it's just pushing. I can't free it up, so I'm 1 point away from being DQ'd.
Well, that's always dangerous. Now, listen, we had just mentioned to Chris Claude, commissioner of the Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series. I didn't spoil too much for the score of the Titans-Bills game, but right now your Philadelphia Eagles are shellacking the Minnesota Vikings. Last I checked, it was 24-7.
Well, that's some good news for tonight, at least.
Yeah, they're definitely having a little bit better of a night than literally half the field. So, listen, stay at it, and maybe we'll see you here toward the end.
If I can go 150 laps with not touching the wall, touching anybody else, or yeah, we'll see.
Just don't even think about the wall. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I gotta worry about everybody else. That seems to be the problem tonight.
Hey, man, listen, if anybody can pull that off, I'm literally sure that you would be the only person I would put faith in for that.
Well, the is behind me, and he's right next to me with playoff points. He might give me a little nudge in the back and finish my night for me here.
Well, I mean, if I were you, I wouldn't tell him that. All right, man, listen, have a good race. Good luck.
All right, man, thanks.
That was Bob Nestor, the commissioner of the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. Big Philadelphia Eagles fan himself. It looks like the Philadelphia Eagles just got another pick off of the Vikings. They still lead the Minnesota Vikings 24-7. As we are back under green here on lap number 164, Justin Prater leading the field as Eugenio Alonso and Brandon Minto are side by side. Prater finally deciding that he is just going to take the lead and hit those marks on lap number 165. He's got 20 to the end. I'm pretty sure he can hold that together, as Alonso and Blazer are going to be duking it out with Bennett Allen. These three drivers I feel like we're going to see all night long. Meanwhile, Bennett Allen has very fresh tires, and it looks like he is ready to take this number 3 machine all the way to the front for stage number 2, as we're going to see if he can maybe challenge Prater, as he just made easy work of Blazer and Alonso, and now he puts Minto in his crosshairs. Minto with 20-lap older tires. I got to say, usually I'm watching both Allen boys out here, but right now that Alabama Department of Mental Health machine is out here. Maybe, whoa, he gets loose and dirt tracks it coming out of 4. Bennett does, and he takes the wall. Oh, that's so sad for Bennett Allen, who was just out there on fresh tires, maybe a little too fresh, maybe a little too cold, as we are still under green. He stays going straight, so we stay under green. That's going to put Bennett Allen significantly down now as far as his advantage that he was just trying to make over Minto and Prater. As Minto and Prater are going to be running away from everybody else. We take a look back. Eugenio Alonso trying to hold off the 46 of Ethan Flanagan yet again, and Flanagan trying to hold off Ricky Carmichael. Now, listen, I'm just saying, Carmichael has made his way up through the field, up 7 positions, running in 7th right now. Looking to the inside of Flanagan, this is a pretty exciting battle here, as I don't see the torches and pitchforks out just yet, as we are under caution for the 10th time tonight. And we're waiting to see exactly what may have happened. And I got to be honest with you, folks, I do not see what brought this caution out just now, as I am desperately trying to see what happened, and I cannot. Now we're maybe getting somewhere here with Zachary Vaughn. As we see Zachary Vaughn, it's showing that he crashed, but I don't see anything on iRacing timing and scoring that would allude to anything. And Zachary Vaughn pulled it over and parked it. So for reasons I'm not quite sure of, and maybe he's not quite sure of either, Zachary Vaughn pulling it in, as now it looks like Minto, Allen, Blazer, and everybody else from 3rd all the way back through 11th is coming in for fresh tires and fuel with just about 12 laps to go here in stage number 2. That leaves Alexander Gangler in the 82. It's Corn machine up here atop the pile with Justin Prater. This, folks, is quite an interesting change here. We are going to get a hold of Alexander Gangler because this is almost too good to be true. Alexander Gangler, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. Do you have a copy, sir?
I do.
What are you doing up here atop the pile?
Winning the race. Well, hopefully. We'll see here in a few moments.
I mean, look, you've got 28-lap newer tires than Justin Prater. Of course, everybody else behind you, a pack of angry Hornets. As, of course, I go to watch you and you flash right off my screen. Alexander, what are you going to be trying to do here to get around Prater?
Well, I've run the high side of the whole race. I think he's been using the low side, if I've been correct. A lot of these faster cars have been using the low side, so I have the open lane. No one in front of me. Hopefully no one behind me. So we'll see what happens here in a few moments. Got 2 to green.
All right, man. Well, listen, with 2 to green, I'm going to get out of your headset here. And listen, good luck. I'm glad to see you up here atop the pile. If anybody deserves it, it's you for all the work that you put in on our Sunday night broadcasts as race control. And listen, man, Big Rock is proud of you.
All right, thank you. Have a good one, Dave.
You too, Alex. And remember, it's Corn. It's a big lump with knobs, and he's got the juice tonight. Here at Bristol Motor Speedway, he's going to split out to go to the high side of Justin Prater. Folks, if you're just joining us on YouTube.com, glad to have you with us. I am Dave Regal here at the microphone. You're watching the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Bristol 300 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. The iRacing.com pace car getting ready to dive down pit road as we get ready to go back green flag racing. Justin Prater enters the restart zone. He hits the loud pedal, and we are back underway. Alexander Gangler gets a little slow start here on the high side, but he said he's been running that high line all night long as he is now chasing down Brandon Minto. Minto, of course, just coming in for fresh tires. But I'm pretty sure Gangler is going to be out here with the hammer and tongs because he has worked so hard this season. This is the series that he really cares about, and we know that as far as driving. As now it looks like maybe Bobby Blazer getting ready to work the low side. Gangler rubs the wall, but Prater is still holding Minto off, and we're about to have a battle for the lead here as Brandon Minto looks to the inside of Justin Prater in that number 17 Exalta Chevrolet Camaro. The 17 tries to stay high of Prater. Minto now works the low side, takes the lead away for just a moment as they're down the backstretch, diving into turn 3. It looks like Prater gets a good entry into 3, but Minto holds the advantage coming out of 4. They're still side-by-side crossing the start-finish line with now 5 laps to go in stage number 2. Right now, Brandon Minto has got to have his knuckles white as a ghost on that steering wheel as he's trying to hold Prater off. It looks like at this point he's trying to stay right there, maybe where Ricky Rudd and Kurt Busch did back here at Bristol Motor Speedway with lap 182 of 300. We're working our way toward 185. It looks like the 3 of the 86 get together. Oh, my. And we are under caution. That will end stage number 2, and if that ends stage 2, that puts Brandon Minto atop the pile and he brings home that green and white checkered flag. We're going to take a look back here at what just happened with Eugenio Alonso and Bennett Allen in the 3. We see Bennett Allen get the run on the rear of the 86, and just as they come out of turn 4 and get ready to go into 2, we see the 86 kind of get hung up there in air, and down the backstretch, Bennett Allen looking to the inside of the 86 and just kisses that left rear of Eugenio, and boom goes the dynamite, as they say. Eugenio Alonso cannot be a very happy driver, as you know, they were all up there atop the pile. Meanwhile, we are going to try to get a hold of Brandon Minto, who has just won stage number 2 in electrifying fashion. Brandon Minto, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Hey, man, listen, congratulations on the stage 2 win. I mean, definitely something a little strange there as far as the end of stage 2. What are you feeling now as far as, you know, getting through the rest of this piece?
Oh, I wish I got the stage 2 win. The stage 2 win came out at 17 got the stage 2 win. But
well, iRacing Timing and Scoring has you scored.
What was that?
iRacing Timing and Scoring has you scoring as the winner of stage 2.
I mean, I'll take the points. I'll take the bonus points to get into the playoffs and everything. But no, Prater should have had it. But
well, at the time that the caution came out, you had the edge, and iRacing Timing and Scoring froze it with you taking home the green and white checkered flag here, and Prater taking P2.
Oh, I'm fine with that.
So apparently, you're now hearing it here first, folks. They did call stage 2, I assume, right?
Well, because stage 2 came out at lap 170, so he
You're
was
kidding.
like,
okay, never mind. Then he got it.
yeah, because he definitely had it in front of me. I was a little upset that I didn't get it because I had the fresher tires, but then even right here at the end of stage 2 when we went in, he stayed out.
Well, then obviously
I don't know
you can
how
tell
it
that your
took me so long to
broadcaster
get
here.
by him.
Obviously, you can tell that your broadcaster here then misread and decided that it was 180 instead of 170. So, regardless, listen, you had a heck of a battle with Prater here for the lead. I mean, here you are now in stage 3, since now I've got to get myself caught back up and reset. I mean, what are you thinking now to get to the end of this piece?
Well, my mind's completely blown because 17's still out here. I don't know when his last pit lap was, but he's on these old tires. But lap 132, yeah, he was still fighting me hard, and I was on brand new tires. So I don't know. He definitely has a lot of speed behind his car.
Absolutely, man. Well, listen, sorry about thinking that this was the end of stage 2. Obviously, I need to get myself reaffirmed with how to read. But regardless, listen, great battle with the 17. Good luck out there, and we will see you on the other side.
All right, thank you.
Well, folks, sometimes even the best in the business like myself can make a mistake like that. But just as we get to the end here, the 17 gets a bump from the 3, and we are back underway as Brandon Minto takes off. And now the 17, as Minto was just saying, I mean, they're out here on what looks to be a 41 lap difference between tire ages. And yeah, Prater is out here holding it together, matching step for step, just separated by 500th of a second. In fact, we're going to pull that up here on the scoring tower. You can see that. You can see the time difference as Minto last running a 15.56, and Bennett Allen now a 15.58. Prater running a 15.72. So these drivers still very fast, even with those older tires. Now maybe Prater's starting to drop back to save these tires. Meanwhile, we take a look back here at the 04 of Ricky Carmichael in 7th position as we are under caution. And not sure where this may have come from. Stand by, folks, as I try to search the track for whatever this mess may or may not be. all of the usual suspects pretty clean here, so not real sure. There it is. Bear with me, folks. I saw it, but who was it? Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to get you that that clip. Maybe John Crow Sr. had an incident here. We'll take a look. Sometimes timing and scoring not the fastest when it comes to getting us the information that we need, as we're going to fast forward here and see what happens with John Crow Sr. Nope, not him either. So unfortunately, this caution, yet another mystery here on the Independence Racing Network. Brandon Minto, your race leader, with Bennett Allen in second, Bobby Blazer in third, Justin Prater in fourth, Ethan Flanagan rounding out the top five, and now Ricky Carmichael has worked his way up into sixth position with Jeff Carson hot on his heels. You know, I got to be honest, Carson and Carmichael seem to be near one another just about every week. We're going to see if we can get a hold of Jeff Carson. Jeff Carson, who finished third last week. Hey, Jeff, it's Dave up in the booth. You got a copy? Hey, man, listen, it seems like Carson and Carmichael are near each other every week here on the track. I mean, how's that Toyota Supra feeling, and what are you thinking as we get deeper into this race?
The Supra's feeling good. It's definitely a long run setup, as you can tell. I get some laps on the tires, I start passing everybody here, but you got some good drivers up front that I haven't been around, so I'm trying to get up there and see what this setup can do.
Yeah, man, I mean, listen, I know that a lot of times your setups are designed there for the long run, but, you know, after your P3 finish on the podium last week, I mean, this week, you got to be thinking maybe a checkered flag for Cross Junction, Virginia.
I'm definitely trying to get a checker flag here, but my ultimate goal tonight would be a top 5 to make sure I get into the playoffs. That's my ultimate goal, just to finish clean and in the top 5.
All right, man. Well, listen, get back to racing, get ready to go double file here, and good luck to you, sir. Maybe we'll see you on the other side, bro.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
You know, Jeff Carson is one of those mad scientists when it comes to setups for these cars. I mean, you know, he, along with some of these other drivers, of course, the Norman, Oklahoma native, Brandon Minto, your race leader right now, he and some of these other drivers spend a lot of time every week trying to put together their setups for these races. I mean, you know, a lot of detail and a lot of preparation goes into this. This isn't a just, you know, hop in and, you know, maybe adjust the wedge kind of deal. You know, this is, iRacing is not NASCAR 98. This isn't EA Sports. This isn't even NASCAR Heat. iRacing.com runs a simulator, and everything down to, you know, spring rates and, you know, hundredths of an inch difference makes sometimes all the difference in these cars, and they simulate that down to that fraction of a decimal of a decimal. So, and we see here Justin Prater now still out on tires that he last got on lap 132 here in stage number 3. As I keep trying to remind myself that we're just about 100 laps from the end here, as Brandon Minto and Bennett Allen lead this piece, and it looks like Bennett Allen going to be going for the lead. Bennett Allen working here on the low side. Bennett trying to match Minto step for step, and it just looks like Bennett's going to try to hold on, but unfortunately that's going to start to open the door for Bobby Blazer. You can see here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen, Blazer ever so quietly closing that gap between himself and Bennett Allen. Now Bennett working the low side of the 12. It looks like he's going to try to secure the lead away from the 12 as the 12 rubs the wall just a little coming out of turn 4. That opens the door yet again for Allen here in the number 3 Alabama Department of Mental Health Toyota Supra. We see Bennett trying to hold that low line, and oh, it's even closer now to Brandon Minto. as we see them side by side here yet again. It looks like Bennett not really fighting that wheel too hard as we cross the start-finish line on lap number 204, and Jeff Carson, my goodness, has had himself an incident. Oh, I hope this isn't too bad for Carson, as it does show him having crashed here on my timing and scoring sheet. And we see Carson coming out of turn number 4 and maybe just getting a little tight here. Nothing bad yet. And oh gosh. And Carson, the 82, just get together at the worst possible moment. It almost looks like Carson might have gotten loose here, as we're going to go to the chopper cam. And we see Carson from the chopper just has a little wiggle, almost a hardware failure. And he just gets up into the 82 of Gangler. We're going to look at this real nice and slow this time. As we see Carson and Gangler about to go side by side one more time here. We see the rear end of that number 9 come loose, and maybe an overcorrection as it just brings Carson up into him. And of course, you got to remember, although we're in a simulation, we're still driving virtual cars, so virtual things can happen, like the 82 being inside the cockpit of the number 9. And folks, here on lap 207, we are going to step aside and pay some bills on the Independence Racing Network.
I know belts and hoses, not X and O's. I do O2 sensors, but not defenses. Yeah, I make a right call to keep your car in the game. Don't even need a playbook, it's all in my brain. Fuel injectors, alternators, radiators too. It's who I am, it's what I do. Never know how. Never know
Lap 209 of 300 at Bristol Motor Speedway. Here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series Bristol 300, brought to you live exclusively on the Independence Racing Network, presented by Northeastern Fire and Air. Dave Regal here at the microphone with you tonight. Bennett Allen, your race leader, with Brandon Minto on his outside. Mike Wright on the inside of row number 2 with Ricky Carmichael in the 04 in 4th. As we get ready to go back green flag racing here, folks, we are going to turn it up and listen to the sounds of the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. 221 laps complete of 300 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. In the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series Bristol 300, I'm Dave Regal here at the microphone, bringing you all of the action. And so far tonight, it has been, the 82 rubs the wall as he's trying to get out of the way of Bennett Allen. That puts Alexander Gangler from restarting just a couple of cautions ago on P2, now a lap down as there are just 10 cars left on the lead lap here in the MNN Xfinity Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway, the Last Great Coliseum. And folks, if you are interested in what's going on in the rest of sports, we've seen quite a lot going on in the National Football League, of course. Things not going so great for Kirk Cousins right now, who is basically 15 for 24 with 115 passing yards in their campaign in South Philadelphia. And we see yet again Cousins trying to go under pressure. He rolls out to the right and just dumps the ball off as the Vikings are trailing the Eagles 24-7 in South Philadelphia. Mike Wright now trying to chase down Bennett Allen as he is now being challenged by Brandon Minto. And we see Minto holding the low side with relative ease as he now gets around Mike Wright here at Bristol. Meanwhile, we look further back in the field as Eugenio Alonso running in 5th position. Bobby Blazer down 2 spots from where he had started, as Ricky Carmichael up 7 spots, now running in the 7th position. Your biggest mover of the night right now is unfortunately a lap down. That's Alexander Gangler, as Alexander is now running in 11th position after starting in 23rd tonight. So Brandon Minto and Ricky Carmichael, both your biggest movers of the night so far on the lead lap, as they are both up 7 positions. Not very often do I say that Mike Wright is not in that top 3, but he's definitely in the conversation as Bobby Blazer has had himself an accident here on lap number 228. We see Blazer in the 90 machine getting ready to go into turn number 3. He works the low side just behind Eugenio Alonso, comes out of turn 4. He gets underneath Alonso now in turn 1 and 2. The two drivers, my gosh, just get into one another. We see this time and time again as these drivers, not a whole lot of space here at Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll take a look maybe a little closer here, zoomed in, as we see Blazer just maybe get tight and washes into the side of the 86. And as soon as he goes sideways, all bets are off. Meanwhile, Ethan Flanagan, in an effort to try to get himself out of the way, as soon as he saw that wreck happening, I'm betting he decided to lock him up or at least try to avoid. And we see Ethan, never mind, that was completely unrelated, just get himself loose and nearly would have caught credit for the self spin there. As there are going to be wholesale pit stops with now 70 laps to go in this contest. Meanwhile, we're going to quick check in with the worldwide leader in sports, as it looks like maybe mercifully the contest between the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans is over. So hopefully we'll get some kind of a score update from that. As, yes, it does look like the Buffalo Bills-Tennessee Titans game has finally gone mercifully to all zeros on the clock, as the Buffalo Bills improved themselves to 2-0 with their win over the Titans up in Orchard Park, New York, with a 41-7 win over the Tennessee Titans. So obviously Tennessee going to be getting back on that plane tonight in a not-so-happy mood. Meanwhile, the Eagles are still leading the Vikings here in the 4th quarter, 24-7. Elsewhere in the National Football League, the Chiefs edge out the Chargers 27-24. The Cowboys beat the Bengals 20-17 in Arlington, Texas. The Jets beat the Browns 31-30. The Washington Commanders lose to the Detroit Lions 36-27. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the New Orleans Saints 20-10. So a busy week in the National Football League. And also, as NASCAR has gotten into its playoffs, Major League Baseball is marching ever so closer to our playoffs in the MLB. And right now, as teams getting ready for all of that, right now the Rockies are leading the Giants 6-5 in the bottom of the 8th. The Dodgers lead the Diamondbacks early in this matchup, 1-0 in Los Angeles. The Chavez Ravine hosting the Diamondbacks yet again as the Dodgers enter that game with a 101-44 record in Major League Baseball. But records don't matter in baseball as much as Justin Prater getting a jump over Flanagan and Allen, as Flanagan and Allen out here doing battle side by side. Oh! Flanagan gets loose and takes Bennett Allen out. My God. That's going to bring out another caution here on lap number 235. We're going to take this right on back. As we thought things were safe, and they were not for Ethan Flanagan as he just gets loose in turns 3 and 4, brings the back end out, almost does the exact same thing that Carson did so many laps ago, overcorrected and just collects Bennett Allen. That is unfortunate of the highest degree. And we're going to see exactly what may have caused the rest of the field to maybe check up here, as everybody almost had to come to a complete stop to get behind the iRacing.com pace car, as that had to be fairly confusing for the pace car. Flanagan having to come back down for more repairs. That leaves Justin Prater out atop the pile. Now, he last came out on lap 206, so I've got to believe maybe he's going to come down for the money stop this time, as we are on lap 236 here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Meanwhile, Brandon Minto going to be in second position. He last came in on lap 230. So if I was Prater, I'd be down there. If I wasn't Prater, or if I was Prater, I'd be praying. That's for darn sure. Mike Wright in third. There he is, getting himself toward that all-important podium finish. And Ricky Carmichael going to be restarting in fourth position. He last came down on lap 230. So everybody from second all the way back through seventh coming in on lap 230 for service, as now Brad Gunn is going to come down for service. In sixth position, Eugenio Alonso also trying to get himself back in now on lap 237. So things have definitely changed a lot now that, my goodness, this incident has happened between Flanagan and Allen. Of course, as we were just talking about our playoffs here in the MNN Xfinity Series, which of course we will have all of that information for you next week at the beginning of our broadcast. Once this night finishes here, we'll get all those points situated and everybody sorted out for the playoffs. We think about the baseball playoffs. Of course, right now, your division leaders, so far so good. Looks like Toronto, Tampa Bay, the Mariners, the Orioles, the Chicago White Sox, the Minnesota Twins, and the Boston Red Sox all out there still doing battle. Of course, your AL division leaders, the Houston Astros, the New York Yankees, and the Cleveland Guardians, all out there with next to no problem. Nobody really worried about having to be for the wild card there. Meanwhile, Your AL wildcard holders are Toronto, Tampa Bay, and Seattle. So at this point, looks like the AL East could be sending 3 teams to the playoffs, as well as the AL Central. The AL West. Having 2 teams in Houston and Seattle. Then, of course, over in the senior circuit, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the St. Louis Cardinals all leading their respective divisions, with Atlanta, San Diego, and Philadelphia holding wild card spots right now. Now, the scary thing for Philadelphia is that they are only 2.5 games over top of Milwaukee. So they've got to hold this together as they sit at 80 and 66 on the season. But basically, the NL East could be sending 3 teams to the big dance there for Major League Baseball. So kind of exciting as we look at the playoffs for NASCAR, of course, here in the MNN Xfinity Series and in Major League Baseball. Meanwhile, out here on track, Ricky Carmichael fighting his way up onto the podium as he is on the inside of Brandon Minto. Both of these drivers last coming in on lap 230. Meanwhile, your race leader, Justin Prater, holding quite a gap over Mike Wright, as it looks like the 04 and the 12 are going to be side by side. Minto shuffles Carmichael back into 4th position as Prater is up here all alone with 0.6 of a second over top of Mike Wright on 24-lap older tires. So if Prater is able to hold this lead over Wright, it will be something of an important lead at, this stage in a race with 55 to go now as we march toward the checkered flag. Minto and Carmichael getting ready to do battle as Carmichael has retreated back into 4th position, and at this point it looks like he is going to set himself up for another attack on Minto, as maybe he's waiting for Blazer to come up here and cause some kind of discourse. Meanwhile, Eugenio Alonso, we can see here as we zoom in on that machine, he's got all kinds of damage and no front nose on the car. The hood's still there, but basically that is an air-cooled engine right now as he gets around Blazer, rubs the wall. Oh, so obviously he is fighting some handling conditions with all of this damage on the number 86 Chevrolet Camaro. Meanwhile, Brandon Minto and Ricky Carmichael have cooled off for the time being, as maybe Carmichael going to try to save these tires for the end and get ready to take a bite out of the rear bumper of Brandon Minto. We talk about Bristol Motor Speedway being the last great Coliseum, and I've said it several times tonight here on the air. But, it's nothing to sneeze at when you consider that it is the 4th largest sports venue in America and the 10th largest sports venue in the world with a maximum seating capacity of 153,000 people. I mean, it's interesting that you could fit that many people here to watch speeds that are slower than most of normal NASCAR tracks, of course, the intermediates and obviously the super speedways. But, whether the speed is slower or not, it makes the racing that much more exciting. And, you can see that slower speeds don't always mean less exciting, even as Justin Prater on what looks to be almost 50-lap old tires still holding Mike Wright off. You can see his last laps here, his last time over Mike Wright on the left side of your screen here, as he is just 0.03 of a second faster than Mike Wright. Of course, Mike Wright has been gaining on him ever so gently, with just 0.6 of a second separating the two of them now, as Carmichael getting ready once again to dive after Brandon Minto. Meanwhile, Bobby Blazer trying to hold off Brad Gunn in the 36 machine, and Brad Gunn looking to the inside of Bobby Blazer. Now Blazer has to hang high. Maybe he's fighting a little tight condition in the number 90 Ford Mustang. And we see Blazer now getting ready to be challenged by Ethan Flanagan, who of course had just gotten together with Bennett Allen. And now Bennett Allen starting to make his return as he is back on the lead lap in 10th position here in the number 3 Alabama Department of Mental Health Toyota Supra, also sponsored by JCTV, as he is chasing down the lapped car of Jeff Carson. Jeff Carson, of course, was contending right up until we apparently put that broadcaster's curse on him. But right now, Justin Prater and Mike Wright looking like they're just out for a drive after work on a Monday night, maybe to unwind a little bit from the day. But I guarantee you, in the cockpits of their racing rigs, they are sweating bullets as we're getting closer here toward the checkered flag, as we are just now 39 laps to the end, as Carmichael looking to the inside of Minto, maybe having enough now with 39 laps to the end, deciding to go side by side. We see Carmichael and Minto getting ready to go at it like crazy. As they cross the start-finish line, Carmichael dives into turn one. You can see that throttle burping out through the exhaust as they go down the back stretch. Carmichael not really fighting that wheel hard. We're going to go inside here and take a look at it from the roll bar. As we can see, Minto really isn't fighting too many adverse conditions. And Carmichael may be fighting a tight condition as maybe those tires have started to wear out. We see Carmichael still trying to work his way toward Minto, but that car definitely can't be too comfortable, as maybe he's waiting to hold on and get closer to Minto. Carmichael looking to take home a position here on the podium to Tallahassee, Florida this season, but here in his first season in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, he has definitely made an impact and been improving every week. So always glad to have him with us, as Mike Wright, your points leader, is coming right up behind Bobby Blazer. And that puts Blazer a lap down as Justin Prater had worked around him. Now it looks like Prater looking to get around the 01 of Matt Mack and put him down yet another lap. And that basically lines up Chris Claude, your Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series commissioner, in the crosshairs. Prater nearly going 3 wide as Bennett Allen is not giving up that high line. And it looks like Bennett Allen, trying to hold that 10th position on the lead lap, just has to get out of the way and bow down the Pied Piper of Bristol Motor Speedway in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, as Justin Prater, on nearly 70 lap old tires, is showing these drivers exactly how to get around this place and keep Mike Wright at bay, because this is something that we don't see very often. As you know, Mike Wright, your points leader, has been so dominant all season long. It almost looks like Ricky Carmichael may be, fighting those old tires. Carmichael last coming down on lap 230. Maybe that setup not a long run setup in the traditional sense, as he's got to be hoping for a caution to come down and get some repair. He gets around Bobby Blazer and keeps the damaged Eugenio Alonso in front of him, with Minto, Wright, and Prater atop the pile. Right now, Mike Wright looking to take the lead away from Prater, as Mike Wright, your points leader, looking to become your race leader here in the third and final stage on lap 275 of 300 at Bristol Motor Speedway. You're watching the Independence Racing Network, proudly presented by Northeastern Fire and Air. The Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series is brought to you by Butt Kicker and RS Button Boxes here on iRacing.com. And right now, Mike Wright has the hammer and tongs out. He's ready to just push Justin Prater out of the way. Prater concedes the spot, knowing that he has the older tires, as Wright last came down on lap 230, and now Justin Prater on 206 is going to be chased down by Brandon Minto. Meanwhile, Ricky Carmichael has lost another spot and is now in 5th. We see him back here trying to chase down Eugenio Alonso and Brandon Minto, and unfortunately, time is running out with 23 to go at Bristol Motor Speedway. Ethan Flanagan looking on that left rear quarter panel of Ricky Carmichael. And I got to be honest, if I'm... Whoa, we're 3 wide with Bennett Allen on the high side, Carmichael in the middle, and that opens the door for Ethan Flanagan to get around Carmichael as Carmichael decides to carefully get out of the way. Justin Prater desperately trying to hold on to the second position is now being challenged by Brandon Minto, and of course they have to deal with the lap traffic and that car in their way. That would be the 32 of Ian Humphreys in his Toyota Supra, trying to get out of the way and allow these two guys to go battle it out in front of him, because of course if you're going to watch somebody race, you might as well race from the windshield instead of in your rear view. And 17 gets tight, kisses the wall, but doesn't allow Minto in easily, as Minto still looking on the low side of Prater. They get ready to dive into turn number 3. Prater still holding on here with now 16 to go at Bristol Motor Speedway. Mike Wright is your race leader. Justin Prater is your second place runner right now. Brandon Minto is hot on his trails with Eugenio Alonso. Ethan Flanagan and Ricky Carmichael rounding out the top 6 with Brad Gunn. Your first car a lap down would be the lucky dog right now, running in 7th position. But I got to be honest, now that Mike Wright has come out here and decided to set sail, it's only a matter of time before there's only 5 cars left in the lead lap. As you know, he had showed us last week at Kansas when we finished, there were only a few cars left on the lead lap because Mike Wright is just that dominant. Justin Prater is still side by side battling it out with Brandon Minto. He's not ready to give up this position early, as Prater is in his Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series debut. He gets a run in front of Brandon Minto. And we're going to be watching these two drivers very closely because we're not sure who's going to finish second at this point. We almost have a guarantee that Mike Wright is going to bring home the checkered flag with 12 to go here, but Ricky Carmichael in danger of being lapped as Mike Wright just behind him and not that far away. So at this stage in the game, it looks like we may have another situation like last week with even just 10 laps to go. Mike Wright not willing to just give up easy, as he has a 3.1 second lead over Prater. Minto, meanwhile, is 0.2 of a second behind Prater. Prater's starting to lose a little bit of steam as they almost make contact there coming out of turn 4. Prater trying to match Minto step for step to hold on to this P2 finish. Meanwhile, Minto gets a run out of 2. But as they dive back into 3, Prater may have set himself up for the pick as Minto has to get through him. They're 3 wide coming past the start-finish line. Prater manages to hold his ground on the middle and then keep the high side away from Minto, as Minto still trying to get momentum off the low side, can't get a run around Prater with 7 to go. They're side by side. These drivers are not even close to trying to give this up as we get ready to zoom in on these two, Minto and Prater, as Prater once again gets the run over top of Minto. They are just going to have to fight this out. At this point, Mom's going to have to come in, tell him to lock the door, and work this out themselves, as once again Prater is going to set himself up to be picked off by Minto as he gets stuck behind Matt Mackin in the 0-1. Mackin gets loose. That opens the door for Minto, and Minto gets the run that he's so desperately been waiting for over Prater. And unfortunately, Prater may have cooked those tires the rest of the way. Meanwhile, Ricky Carmichael just went a lap down, and there are now 5 left on the lead lap. 5 left on the lead lap with 4 to go here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Mike Wright, Brandon Minto, Justin Prater, Eugenio Alonso, and Ethan Flanagan make up your top 5. And it looks like we may not have enough time for Mike Wright to make it 4, but we've got 5 cars left on the lead lap with 3 to go now. It's still anybody's race behind Mike Wright, as Minto and Prater still have some battling out to do. Eugenio Alonso holding his own, and Ethan Flanagan chasing him down. But unfortunately, time is running out. The sand nearly out of the hourglass here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series contest at the Bristol 300 here. As the white flag is in the air, we're watching the final lap. One more time, Mike Wright will bring the field down into turns 3 and 4. He's still behind Jeff Carson, who's down laps. The checkered flag waves, and Mike Wright is your Bristol 300 winner in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Bristol Motor Speedway. What a great race here at Bristol Motor Speedway on the Independence Racing Network. Mike Wright coming back after, not even qualifying in the top 3, now gets to bring home that checkered flag. And, as always, it just seems like he is always in the conversation. He manages to now go from a dirty dozen to a baker's dozen in the win column. We're going to grab Mike here and see if we can get him into the broadcast booth. Mike Wright, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. Sir, do you have a copy?
I'm here. Somehow, I'm here.
Listen, you battled all night long. I mean, this was not a cakewalk for you at Bristol. I mean, we're used to seeing you dominate an entire race. Here you are waiting until stage 3 even to find out what clean air looked like at Bristol. And you just put a clinic on, these last 55 laps. I mean, congratulations, man. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Besides exhausted.
I'd like to say it was simple and planned out that way, and ultimately that's what I was shooting for. But getting wrecked there at the beginning definitely did not help the plan. And then had to go a lap down trying to repair the stuff, and then had that weird incident on pit road where another car was a lap down and was sitting in front of my pit box, and I thought I would ghost through him, but I didn't. So then it gave me incidents and damage on the front from that. And so we cycled around, we kept working on it, finally got the lucky dog, and the whole last part of the race I was overheating. So I could run about 10 or 15 laps hard, and then I'd have to back off a little bit to let the engine temp come back down, because I could never find the sweet spot with the damage, even though I took tape off. And that actually probably helped because I had to drive easier into the corner to let the engine breathe. And so probably saved some tires. And I know we were a little bit off for what Justin had pitted on, which was part of the plan. Brandon and I were kind of talking through that as we were going. So we saved that last set, knowing that he was out. So it worked out. It was a long workaround to get there. A little bit more damage on the car than I would like, especially there at the end, thanks to a random celebratory run through. But on the front stretch there when Brandon and I were celebrating a little bit, but we got there. That's the third week Brandon and I have finished 1-2. So that's exciting. Mike had a little trouble earlier, but he felt pretty good at his long run too. So it was not a straight path, but we're there.
Yeah, at the end of the day, whether it's a straight path or not, all paths lead to victory lane, and we can see that they're trying to get back there to what victory lane would be in real life. But listen, man, you ran a great race. You managed to battle all that way, and there you go. Now you're trying to work your way there. Let's see if I can pull up.
It won't let me
that's
there.
the end.
It won't let
That's
me.
a shame.
It
I was
won't
going to
let
say
me.
that the drone cam had me just able to see where the entry to victory lane is. But before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you need to thank for this run tonight?
So all three of us in Ferdo, we put some good practice together trying to figure out. We really wanted to make the bottom work, and that paid off in the end, knowing that's where we were going to have to pass somebody. So that worked out for the most part. For Bristol, it seemed like most people were given some pretty good room. I got to come through the field a few times there. So we made it through those with some good people around us. Shout out to Larry watching. I'm sure he is watching again like he always does, and we're ready for playoff time.
Yeah, you're definitely steaming into the playoffs this year with now you went from, as we talked about earlier, a dirty dozen, and now you've got the baker's dozen here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. So, Mike, congratulations on yet another great run, and we will see you next week as we get ready to start the playoffs.
You got it. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, sir, and we will cut him loose here, get him back down in there, and that will bring up Brandon Minto, driver of the number 12 machine. Brandon Minto, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha.
Listen, man, you had yourself a great run. You were back there battling it out with Justin Prater. I mean, how was it trying to basically fight someone off who had, 24 lap older tires than you?
It was hard. Like once you get to the outside line, you can maintain that momentum and carry that speed down the straights, even though they're short straights. But I just didn't have the setup to run the inside line as well as I wanted to. So my fresh tires didn't mean as much. He definitely had an amazing setup. I was talking down there in the broadcast waiting room, and yeah, I don't know how he was maintaining all of his speed that whole time on the outside line. But yeah, it was good racing with him.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching him and I'm thinking, my goodness. I mean, if it wouldn't have been for where he had rubbed the wall, and basically he kind of he put himself into that position because he kept getting picked, by lapped cars that were just in the way, which opened the door for you. So at this point tonight, I guess you could definitely thank a couple of lapped cars. I assume that you had to be on race radio at some point being like, hey, get out of my way, coming through, we're battling, I'm busy.
I actually didn't come on the radio at all because they were all, I knew I was going to the inside and it looked like they were all starting to go high. So I'm like, I'm not going to tell them to do anything because it's kind of helped me out a little bit. That's probably a little bit of bad racemanship, if that's even a word right there. But they kept going high, and then, yeah, that's how I eventually got by him because there was a lapped car that I think got into the wall right in front of him going into turn one, and I was able to finally clear him. I'm just like, oh, my God, thank God.
Yeah, trust me, I thought, especially with that difference in tire wear, I figured that you were praying that Prater, didn't wind up, smoothing those tires out to be on glass. So obviously things worked out for you as this is the third week in a row you and Mike finished 1-2. And now, of course, we're steaming into the playoffs. So strategy is going to change. The points are all going to, reset themselves. Of course, bonus points are going to have a huge effect on that as well. But, you get ready to move on here into the playoffs. Who do you have to thank before we cut you loose tonight?
First and foremost, I want to thank my parents. They always tune in, watch me race and everything, and I'm glad they get to go watch all this stuff, and I'm glad I'm getting to get good finishes to make them proud of me a little bit, even though it's virtual racing. It's all good and everything. Want to give a big shout out to Mike Wright. He's amazing, always coaching me through all these races. And then Mike Astudo, our other teammate in Ferda, and he got taken out a little early in the race, but he hung around with us and he was in there like talking with us, give us a little bit of strategy. So I want to give a shout out to the Ferda team. Also want to give a shout out to my girlfriend Cassie. Thanks for watching. She allows me to sit here on Monday and Tuesday nights and race, and doesn't get too mad at me for not talking to her for a few hours. And then I also want to give a shout out to you for putting on these great broadcasts. I like going back and watching all these races. And then also want to give a shout out to the 344th engineer section. Like, they always tune in and they always watch, and we talk about it at work. So appreciate everybody watching.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations on that P2 finish. Go ahead and celebrate with the rest of your team, and we will catch you next week in the playoffs.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was Brandon Minto, your second-place finisher. Of course, the third week in a row that he and Mike Wright get to finish 1-2, and that brings up Justin Prater, who, as far as trying to be the Iron Man, he was definitely out here pushing this number 17 Chevrolet Camaro sponsored by Exalta to its absolute max. Your pole sitter finishes on the podium with tires that were 24 laps older than the 1-2 finishers and 30 laps older than the fourth-place finisher. So, Justin Prater, Dave Regal, listen, what a great run, man.
I gave it my absolute best. I put everything I had into it in that last run. I was really banking on a caution, though, inside of 50. And I knew that the other guys didn't have any sets of tires. And I knew I had one banked that I could count on to go ahead and try to pull away after that.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I was sitting here hoping for a caution for you as well, because, I mean, I think you really could have given them a run for your money, you know, knowing that you had that extra set of tires in your back pocket. But, I mean, look, to come into this league, especially with as good as some of these drivers are, and to hold yourself up to where you are right now, I mean, you deserve a tip of the helmet no matter what, man.
I appreciate that. These guys are really great, especially Brandon and Mike, and then my two teammates also. They are absolute great drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, of course, early on in the race, there was a lot of mayhem and so on and so forth. I mean, you know, with 23 cars in the field at green, even at a place like, you know, Bristol, where there's still room to move around, I mean, that there's a lot of beating and banging that goes on, and you being able to bring that number 17 across the finish line, you know, relatively clean. I mean, you've got some stripage on here, and, you know, nothing that's unfamiliar, let's say, to Bristol. The car still looks like it's in one piece. Maybe a little bit of damage there on the rear, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I actually didn't get that until about 5 to go. Whenever I was racing with the 12, we came up on a lap car, and that car got in the wall, and I kind of got into them. So up until about 5 to go, I was completely clean the whole race.
Well, man, listen, I can't say congratulations enough, because to finish where you did in this league is quite a feat. So, you know, before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you need to tip your cap to at the end of the night?
Most of all, I really just want to say thank you to Bobby and Ethan that ran in here with me. That's my two teammates. In the beginning, I really didn't have encouraging spirits on my setup, but they kept my spirits up. Kind of pushed me over to what I could do.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations again on your podium finish here at Bristol, and we will hopefully see you next week. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'll be here.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations, and have a good rest of your night. And I'll tell you what, folks, this has been one of those races that we talk about for weeks to come. We're going to be talking about this next season, I'm sure. You know, remember that great fall race at Bristol on the asphalt? You know, the dirt has gone away, so to speak. As now we look forward to going into the playoffs. I mean, next week, things don't get much easier, you know, as we look ahead on the schedule. Now with round one of the playoffs starting with that round of 12, We're going to Texas Motor Speedway next week. We'll be in Arlington. It's going to be 200 laps. It's going to be fast. It's going to be fiery. And I got to be honest, folks, those 200 laps that we're going to run, every one of them is going to count for these drivers. Nobody's trying to give up early, especially if you're in those playoffs. And, of course, we go from Texas to Talladega. And, you know, Talladega can be anyone's race, and that's still here in the round of 12. So even a non-playoff driver, we really have to start watching, you know, on those super speedways. Then, of course, we continue on to the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. So that'll definitely throw a little bit of a wrench there into the traditional racing that we're used to seeing in the playoffs. So one last time with this one in the books, we'll take a look at that finishing order here with Mike Wright. Your points leader is also your race leader and your race winner here in Bristol, Tennessee, with Brandon Minto finishing second and Justin Prater rounding out the podium. Eugenio Alonso finishes in fourth, and Ethan Flanagan, the last car on the lead lap, finishes in fifth. Ricky Carmichael finishes sixth, with Brad Gunn, Ian Humphreys, Bennett Allen, and Bobby Blazer rounding out the top 10. Matt Mackin, Chris Claude, Jeff Carson, Alexander Gangler, John Bawalda, Bob Nestor, Michael Astuto, Matthew Helm, Zachary Vaughn, and Chad Sanner round out your top 20, with John Crow, Joseph Lester, and Zach Osborne finishing out the field. So, you know, unfortunately for a lot of these drivers, they didn't get a whole lot of laps completed tonight. Lester only completing 91 laps. That's under a third of this race. You know, a talented driver not able to bring home the checkers or even get to the end of stage one, you know, which is, well, or just barely getting through stage one, I should say. Zach Osborne not getting through stage one, only logging 56 laps. So it was an interesting night for a lot of these drivers that we're not used to seeing finishing poorly, but at the same time, it's an exciting night for somebody like Brandon Minto and Mike Wright, who finished 1-2 for the third week in a row, with Justin Prater debuting here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, finishing on the podium ahead of some really big names in this league. So congratulations to everybody tonight who made it to the end still running. You know, so like I said, some unfortunate drivers not able to keep it together. But a busy night here in Bristol, Tennessee, nonetheless. Folks, if you've been with us from start to finish, congratulations. You made it to the end of 300 laps. I know that I'm exhausted. The drivers are exhausted. And quite frankly, this old girl here from 1961, she's probably pretty exhausted too in Bristol, Tennessee. So for everybody here at the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Independence Racing Network, I'm Dave Regal saying tomorrow, as you go through your day, find that one moment, that one happy thought. Hold on to that happy thought and fly. Good night, everybody.